Tales. The fascination of the eerie, weird, blood-chilling tales told by old Nancy, the witch of Salem, and Satan, her wise black cat. They're waiting for you. Now.
I be today. Yes, sir, 103-year-old. Well, Satan, me and you'd better plan to spin these folks a pretty little yarn tonight. Douse all them lights. That's it. Make it nice and dark and cheerful when you hears our bedtime stories. Now, draw up to the fire and gaze into the embers. Gaze into 'em deep, and soon you'll see the dining room of a fine old house in England. And there, on the evening of the 13th of May, begins our yarn about the devil's number. The devil's number.
Serve coffee and liqueurs in the East Room, Peters. You'll be more comfortable there.
Yes, sir.
Permit me to lead the way, Mrs. Oliver.
Certainly. What a wonderfully huge place you have here, Mr. Rockwell. Harry, don't you wish that our home had so many rooms that we'd be compelled to designate them by points of the compass?
I'm not sure that I do when I think of Mr. Rockwell's yearly cost for upkeep.
When my original ancestor built the place in 1512, and other ancestors later enlarged it, they had a very poor regard for a 20th century descendant who'd have to bear its expense in depreciated currency. Here we are. Take this chair, Mrs. Oliver.
Thank you. This house was built in 1512, you say. My, that's over 400 years ago.
Yes, its lack of modern conveniences attest to that. You know, I'm offering you very poor hospitality in exchange for the jolly entertainment you afforded me at this time last year.
Poor hospitality? After that dinner?
Well, anyone can feed his friends. But you fed me in such a delightfully original manner.
Original?
Don't you remember? By a coincidence, today's day and date are precisely similar, except for the month.
You were at my anti-superstition party.
Yes, with 13 at table, and you compelled everyone to break a mirror.
And to spill salt.
And to enter the dining room, I had to walk under a ladder.
Of course you were at that mad affair.
I shall never forget it. I've gone about knocking on wood ever since. I'm only joking about being superstitious, of course, although it's bred in my British bones.
There's the coffee and liqueurs, sir.
Oh, yes.
Will there be something else now, Mr. Rockwell?
Not for the present. I'll ring if I want you.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's a darn funny thing that we should visit your place for the first time on Friday the 13th, as you first visited us. The coincidence never occurred to me until you mentioned it.
I thought of it when I drove you down from London.
If we hadn't been detained in Liverpool, we'd have begun our visit yesterday, as we planned.
Perhaps the hoodoos I made you attempt last year arranged the coincidence.
I scarcely think the hoodoos will harm us after this long time. But perhaps we should light a bonfire to keep them at a distance.
Light a bonfire?
Yes. Evil spirits are afraid of fire. If you look out that window, you'll see several fires which my tenants have lighted for their protection.
Your tenants? You mean modern English farmers believe seriously in the ill fortune of this day?
Whether they believe seriously or not, they take no chances. Do you know the basis for its ill fame?
Why? Because Friday was the day of crucifixion.
Yes, when evil triumphed over good, and the devil over God. 13 is the devil's number, because he was the chief of each convene of witches and wizards, which always numbered 12 in addition to himself.
Now, you've been holding out on us, Bert. We never dreamed that you were an authority on folklore.
Oh, dear me, I'm not. I'm only the merest dabbler. But it is an interesting subject, don't you think?
Most interesting, particularly for today.
Would you like to see a concrete example of the 13 superstition?
A concrete example?
Yes. But first, you must assure me that you're not at all squeamish.
Not I.
Then come this way. Oh, Peters! Peters!
Yes, sir.
Fetch me a lamp or a lantern, will you?
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm taking you to the unused portion of the house. You sure you won't mind looking at human bones, Mrs. Oliver?
Human bones?
Very old ones. They've been in the house for nearly 3 centuries.
You keep bones in the house?
Well, they belong to an ancestor of mine. He was such a wicked old chap, the church wouldn't permit his remains to be buried in consecrated ground, so we had to find a resting place for them somewhere. Besides, he wanted them to be here.
Here's the lantern, sir.
Oh, thank you, Peters.
You're going into the old part, sir?
That's where we're headed.
Not towards the North Tower, sir.
Yes, to the crypt of old Eric.
Please don't go in there, sir. Not tonight, Mr. Rockwell.
If the old wizard starts any trouble, Peters, we'll shout and let you know.
But, Mr. Rockwell...
Come along, you two, who want to learn about superstition.
Mr. Rockwell, wait. Take this.
Oh, must I carry that prodigious weapon with me?
You've promised me you always will when you go in there, sir. Please.
Oh, very well. I'll take it now. Come along, open the door.
Yes, sir.
Give me your hand here. It's pretty dark in here.
Yes.
I'll leave the door open, sir, and stand here waiting, if you need me.
All right, Peters.
Your butler doesn't approve of this expedition, apparently.
No, he doesn't like the North Tower and old Eric.
Why did he insist you carry that huge revolver?
He always does when I visit the old part. He has it loaded with dum-dum bullets.
Dum-dum?
Yes, they're ordinary lead or steel-jacketed bullets crisscrossed with a knife across the nose to make them spread on impact. Someday I shall tell him that only silver bullets are of any use against ghosts.
Ghosts?
Or disciples of witchcraft.
Now, what on earth are you taking us to see?
Merely some old bones. Watch your step. The floors aren't very sound in here. There's a lot of rubbish to fall over.
Now, you're working up to some sort of a practical joke leading us into this darkness.
Oh, upon my word, I'm not. No, really. Although I do owe your wife some retaliation for having made me walk under ladders and break mirrors.
I've never been in such a spooky place.
Nor I. These old halls beat any haunted castle I've ever read about in books.
The shadows cast upon them by Mr. Rockwell's bobbing lantern are giving me the shivers.
Me, too. You're getting your revenge for Judith's superstition party, Bert. But tell us about this ancestor of yours whose bones we're going to see.
Wait till we reach his resting place. The tale will be more effective then. Here we are. His remains are enclosed in that little iron chest.
In the niche in that wall?
Yes. I'll open his tiny coffin.
Oh!
Here, you see all that is still earthly of Eric Rockwell, my many times great-grandfather who was burnt at the stake by order of King James I for witchcraft.
Burnt at the stake?
For witchcraft? Yes. Members of the family bribed the official executioners and were allowed to reclaim these bones from the ashes. They sifted so diligently that only the bones of a single foot escaped their pious search. Otherwise, the skeleton of the old scoundrel lies intact within this iron box.
Why do you keep him here?
Well, I've already explained that the church refused to allocate hallowed ground for his remnants. That Eric's bones were not consumed together with his flesh was considered extremely unfortunate at the time, for it was commonly believed that they would enable him to live again.
People believe such rot as that?
People still believe it. Oh, wait till you hear all the story. Gather round me, my children, and listen. The old gentleman whose skull and assorted bones lie before us in these pretty shadows had great supernatural power. According to incontestable records, he was born in the year of 1514. He was executed in 1623.
When he was over 100 years old.
When he was 109 years old. But when he was led to the stake, he didn't look a day over 40.
Bert, are you making all this up?
Not a word of it. However, let's hear the rest of Eric's history. At his trial, it was proven that he'd murdered no less than 8 young girls.
He murdered?
Yes, for their blood, which he used as ingredients for a rejuvenating elixir which enabled him to defy old age.
Well, that's crazy.
I know it is, but according to the records, it worked.
But how?
Well, that the judges didn't learn. They learned he had lured young women to this house so that they might later become his victims, however. It seems he, in some way, managed to secure 13 drops of their blood, after which they became his slaves and did whatever he wished.
13 drops of blood.
The devil's number. The number which makes people fear this day, even in the so-called enlightened age. After Eric had secured that small amount of blood, the girl would become his creature. Then he would drain her arteries at leisure in his laboratory, which still exists as he left it. As a matter of fact, the old villain was probably merely a first-class hypnotist with a wide, sadistic streak. But he makes a good story for Friday the 13th, doesn't he?
Yes. But why do you keep his awful bones in your home?
A matter of tradition. We Britons are governed always by that, you know. The old boy is said to have remarked before his death that if his bones weren't collected and kept in Rockwell Manor, and that if his laboratory and implements weren't preserved intact, that the house would be destroyed. The foolish believe that he had a purpose in that command, some idea of resurrecting himself from the dead. Mad story, isn't it?
Yeah. Now close that ghastly chest and let's go back to where it's light.
I'm for that. I brought you here for a ghostly thrill. I've given myself the shivers.
Don't close the chest yet. Hold that lantern so I can look.
Judith, I never knew before that you possessed a morbid streak.
I didn't either. But those bones, that grinning skull, they fascinate me.
You're bearing out the legend, Mrs. Oliver. Old Eric was noted for fascinating women. But I'll close the chest now, if you don't mind. And we'll go back.
Yes, dear. I'm ready for another glass of birch brandy.
Wait, please. Let me close the chest.
If you wish.
Oh,
Dear.
But what's wrong?
oh, I cut my finger on that rusty iron.
Hey, hold that lantern here, Bert.
I see your finger's bleeding.
Hey, I'll bind it with my
Oh,
handkerchief.
don't bother. It's just a scratch.
Good Lord.
What's the matter?
Her blood has fallen on that skull.
Well, why should that?
Count those drops, Harry. I make 13. The devil's number. 13 drops of blood on the wizard's skull.
Honestly, Harry, if we hadn't known Mr. Rockwell for so long as the steadiest sort of person, I'd think he's a little mad.
Quiet, dear. His room's next to ours. He might hear you. He certainly became upset about that blood, didn't he?
His face was whiter than a sheet when we came out of that darkness into the lighted hall.
And so was his butler's when he heard what had happened. It was strange, though, that you should cut your finger and that just 13 drops of blood should fall upon those bones after what Bert had told us.
Yes. There were just 13 drops.
Exactly. I counted them. They all fell on top of the skull, and it absorbed them like blotting paper.
Coincidence, wasn't it?
Yes. If there was any superstition in my makeup, I'd have been more shaky about it than Bert.
Why? Would you think my blood could restore the old wizard to life?
Oh, that's ridiculous. Why did you want to close that closet, Judith?
I don't know. Just a mood, I guess.
Well, I'm tired. Let's go to bed.
All right. I'd better remove the handkerchief you bound around my finger and wash it thoroughly before I take off my dress. I don't want bloodstains on this new gown.
Now, I'll put some iodine on that cut.
Harry,
Huh?
this is funny.
What?
There's no blood on either my finger or the handkerchief.
No?
Yet the cut was bleeding profusely when you bound it.
Let's see.
Look,
That is funny.
the wound seems to have closed after those 13 drops.
Evidently.
Another coincidence, isn't it?
The cut's a tiny one. It's not remarkable that so little blood flowed from it.
Harry, there's still another coincidence that I haven't mentioned to you.
What do you mean?
When I reached out to close the lid of that chest, it fell upon my hand before I touched it.
Before you touched it?
Yes, it seemed to leap at me.
Now, look here, Judith. You're not letting Rockwell's story of that old sawdust affect your good sense. You're not beginning to believe there's anything supernatural between this trifling accident?
No, of course not. I'll take off my dress and we'll go to bed.
We'd better. Bert's servants will be calling us for breakfast at 7.
Look out this window. The farmers are still keeping their bonfires to drive the evil things away.
Yeah, the idiots.
For hundreds of years, they've believed the powers of hell are strong on this day of the devil's number.
Dear, what's the matter with you?
Oh, this huge, spooky old house, I guess, and this old country. I'm being silly. Unhook my dress, dear.
I should say you are being silly. Now, hold still.
What's that?
What?
Outside in the hall. Listen.
Sounds like footsteps. Footsteps of a lame man.
Yes. It's stopped outside our door.
Well, I wonder who... Well, I haven't seen any lame servants about the place.
Now the steps are passing on.
Well, why should they have stopped here? I'm going to see.
No. Don't open that door.
Judith, let me go.
Don't open that door.
What's the matter with you?
Those steps came from where we saw that chest of bones from which a foot is missing.
Harry! Harry, Oliver, let me in. Bert, open the door. I've got to talk to you quickly. Why, what's wrong?
Did you hear footsteps in this hall?
Yes.
They stopped outside this door and then went on.
I didn't imagine it, and I didn't.
Oh, what's wrong with you? Wasn't it one of your servants out there?
This thing with a single foot, did it sound to you like a living human?
No, it didn't.
Have you both gone crazy?
I think I have. For ever since your wife's blood fell on those ghastly bones, I've been like a timid child in the dark. And since those footsteps came and went, I'm frankly terrified.
Sure.
Don't call me a fool, a coward, a madman. I can't help it. I've got to see what is walking in this hall.
Bert, come back here.
He's running towards that tower.
Your man's out of his mind.
You've got to stop him. It was from there those footsteps came.
Oh, the footsteps won't hurt him, but he's liable to fall through a hole in those rotten floors without a light. I'll get him.
Harry, don't leave me.
Nothing's going to hurt you. Call the servants. Tell them to bring lanterns. I'll never be able to find Bert in this infernal blackness. Bert! Bert!
Yes, I'll call. Peter! Come here, quick!
Please, don't scream. Gaze into my eyes and obey whatever I tell thee.
You have no eyes. I see only a grinning skull. An awful skeleton that walks.
You will see what my will demands. You will see the man I was in life.
You are a man. I see that now. A man who wears a strange, ancient clothes. A man who has lost a foot.
Thou shalt act as my will demands. Thou shalt help me to become indeed a living man, you see.
No.
Yes.
No.
For the devil, my master, hath given thee to me. Come, I lead. Ye follow.
I follow.
Follow me and learn my master's power. Follow me and learn the magic of 13 drops of blood.
Those bones are missing from their chest, Harry. They're gone.
Someone's playing a practical joke.
Those bones are gone because the legend's true. Because your wife's blood has brought that monster back to life.
Oh, stop that, or you'll make me as crazy as you are. Now, leave me out of this darkness. I've got to see Judy. I've got to know that she's all right.
Wait, did you hear that?
What?
I heard a door close. Back in the old North Tower.
Why, I thought I did, too.
That's where Eric had his laboratory, where he worked his filthy magic.
Well, if we did hear a door, I'll not believe a dead hand closed it. What a fool I was to leave Judy.
Oh, she'll be all right. Don't pay any heed to my imbecile hysteria, old man. Come on, here's the passage that leads to the lighted hall. You can see your door from here.
Yeah, it's standing open where I left it. Judith probably has the servants with her now. Judith! Judy, dear! I found Bert and brought him back. Judith, why don't you answer me? Judith! Judith! She's not here. The room's empty.
Good Lord!
What are you staring at, Bert?
What? Look, impressed in this carpet. It's the footprint of a skeleton, of a single bony foot.
That door we heard closed.
Judith! Quick, to the tower, man! The tower!
Come, we have little time to waste, my dear. Soon thy husband and the present master of this house will note thy absence and seek thee in this laboratory. But there is time enough. There is time enough for that which thou wilt do.
What must I do?
First, thou must prepare an altar to my master. For fear of the curse, they have left this chamber quite unchanged. In the scrollwork of yonder roll, thou wilt find a carven serpent. Go, press its head.
I press.
Yes. A panel opens. Put thy hand inside and draw forth 2 black candles. Black. Black for the worship of my master. Now, place them here. Place them here.
They are placed.
Now from the sacred cupboard, take the tinder box and light them. Oh, my hands. Oh, Satan, they're still useless for thy work. They are hands of the dead, and have no strength nor power. But thou hast restored my will, hast given me the means for my hands. Soon, by her death, thou shalt give me back my life, O Satan.
The candles are lighted.
Bring forth yon earthen basin now, and the flask that lies beside it. Unstop the flask and pour its contents in the bowl. It's the holy oil of hell. Oil from fat of newborn babes. Now, place it here between the candles. Now from the cupboard, take yon keen-edged knife, and with it in thy hand, recline upon the altar. Thou art to be the sacrifice. Why, thy husband comes, but he will be too late.
Hey, the door's locked. Lie inside there, Judith. Answer me.
I will not. Lie thou on the altar.
I do as you command.
Left. I heard her voice. She's in there.
The clock. The dead is in there, too. The dead shall soon be alive. Warm blood shall enter his bones, and the flesh again.
He means murder.
Get on then. Break down the door. Take it. Raise thy knife, woman, and strike it to thy heart.
Harry.
Raise not his voice. Obey it, son. Obey me.
Only listen to me.
Now, strike. Strike that knife into your heart, I say.
No.
The door's getting Harry. Come on, quick. Use that knife, that I may have my blood.
Don't, Judith. Don't.
Strike.
Don't let her.
Strike. Devil in hell, my master. Satan lend power to my long-dead will. By the 13 drops of blood thou didst give me from this woman, make her give me all the flame within her veins.
No. Oh, whatever.
I call on hell. Strike, woman. Strike.
I obey.
Judith.
The door open. Strike.
I tried.
Stop her. Woman, turn thy blade on them who say
I can't hold it. He's all the strength of hell.
Stop him. Strike.
Oh, she's happy. Back a knife with my arm.
I have thy blood. Thou too will be in my power.
Don't let those bony hands touch that arm. You'll be under his spell as she is.
Come. The blood.
My blood. Just 13 drops.
And the toy at me.
I've got a knife. I've got it. Now, look out. I've knocked the lighted candle in his oil.
The oil is spreading flames all around the room.
Fire's the only way to stop this monster. The one way to destroy him.
Not if he escapes.
He's circled the flames.
He's on the door.
Follow him.
The woman still remains my slave. Her blood yet will give me life.
Stop him, Bert. Stop him. You have a gun. The one Peter gave you. Shoot.
11 bullets won't destroy a thing of hell.
We have nothing else. He's going away with Judith. Try.
Try, but there's no hope.
Stop them. Fallen.
In a scattered heap of bones.
Harry!
Judith's calling. Coming back to me. The devil's spell is lifted from her.
Oh, Harry, darling.
My dear. But leaden bullets couldn't destroy a thing of hell. They couldn't. You said the dum-dum bullets in that pistol were made by cutting a cross upon the nosework. A cross? Yes, a cross. The sign of heaven. We must get out of here and rouse the servants. Those flames can't be stopped now. Soon this house will fall as old Eric prophesied.
Wait. Listen.
The clock is striking midnight.
The devil's day is over.
Well, that's the end of that, Satan. You folks looks out for Friday the 13th when it comes your way.
Hey everyone, Waddle from Watchwaddle here. Hope you're all enjoying today's radio show, and don't forget to check out some of Watchwaddle's tunes. So round, so firm, so fully packed with hits. Screwy Forest's Watchwaddle cartoons. Available on Channel Watchwaddle.
When cold is wet is getting down, just call on Watchwaddle. Relief in factors all around, so call on Watchwaddle. Famous now for years and years.
Forget those fleas and sniffle fears.
When cold and wet is getting down, just call on Watchwaddle.
Inimitably.
And now, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Friday the 13th? Unlucky? Nonsense. Rank superstition, that's all.
Listen now to Act One of Friday, starring Ivor Francis, and written especially for Suspense by Jonathan Bundy.
Look at her down there. Most beautiful little harbour this side of Clovelly and Plymouth O. And so peaceful and quiet down there now, you'd hardly believe that a few years ago we had us one of the busiest ports on all the coast of England. A high deal of trade went in and out of this port in those days, sometimes 3 and 4 ships a week. There was always them as laid over, too, and the hopes of picking up a cargo, unexpected, and fishing boats, plenty of them. But mostly it was trade. Ships and sailing men from all the 4 corners of the earth. And I was part of it. A few years ago, did I say? Well, I guess to be more exact was more like 40 years ago. Long time for men. Shipping agent, I was. Not a single piece of pottery or sack of grain or bale of goods that didn't go through these hands of mine. Or through our hands, that is. You see, I had me a partner, Philip Morley by name. Fine young chap he was, too. Why, in 7 or 8 years, he knew most as much about that business as I did.
There we are, Beckham. We're all ready for the Lorenta now. I've made all the arrangements, and she can start taking on cargo first thing in the morning.
Fine, Philip, my boy, excellent. But I'd say it's about time now, wouldn't you? Why a master like Captain Cunningham should have had such trouble filling out a crew, I never understand.
Something about the sailing date, he said.
Oh? Well, I don't see why. Well, now, I shall be off to London to arrange the insurance for her.
Some superstition it was.
That superstition?
Yes, sir.
Bah, Tommy rot. And, Philip, you know that as well as I do. Of course, the men behind the master, superstitious, most of them, and omens and things and black cats across the deck. Aye, carrying a hare's foot for luck, too. All right. They're kind of simple and amusing, and they're harmless. But this, well, if you ask me, my lad, it's carrying things just a bit too far. It's ridiculous. Well, isn't it, lad?
Well, of course, there was the Bristol Queen,
Oh,
Beckham.
the Bristol Queen and 100 others that left for the open sea on all days of the week.
Well, I know, sir.
No, Philip, it's all foolishness. Foolish superstition and nothing else. And don't you ever believe otherwise. So I drove me up to London town, the big insurance exchange. Biggest in the world it was, with more than 200 brokers sitting around their tables and all in touch with what was going on by the means of that marvellous invention, the telegraph. And I talked with my old friend, Mr. Edward Etherington, who handled all my problems back those 40 years ago.
Here we are now, Mr. Beckham. A quill and plenty of ink.
Good.
Now, you say the vessel is named the Lorenta.
Aye, Mr. Etherington, the Lorenta. One of the finest ships ever put to sea, sir.
Oh, yes, I believe I recall having insured her once before, on a sailing out of Southampton.
No doubt you have, sir.
Still under Captain Halsey Cunningham?
Yes, sir, the same.
Good. Now the value of the cargo, Mr. Beckham?
£15,000.
Oh, 15,000, eh?
Aye, sir. We're loading her with finished woolen goods to be carried to the port of Philadelphia in America.
Good. It's surprising how much the trade of that young country has increased recently.
Ah, it is.
Yes, especially with so much political strife between its north and south.
Aye, but Mr. Etherington, I confidentially predict that one day the international trade with America will be second only to the trade with England.
Oh, yes, perhaps so. Well, now, you wish full coverage?
Full coverage, sir.
Very well. £15,000 in finished woolens.
Aye.
And the destination is the port of... Oh, by the way, Beckham, have you set the sailing date?
That I have, Mr. Etherington.
And what is it, please?
April the 21st.
Let me see now. That would be...
No need to look, sir. That'll be Friday after the next Friday week.
Yes, Friday? On a Friday?
That it is.
Oh, no. Then I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Eh? Now, what's the matter with that?
I trust you aren't jesting, Mr. Beckham.
Jesting? Hardly.
You mean you don't know?
I certainly don't.
Well, then I'll tell you what's the matter with it. No, wait, listen.
Now, you listen to me, Mr. Etherington. I won't...
Listen!
Gentlemen, I have a dispatch of great importance. The six-masted schooner Tremaine, long overdue at the port of Southampton. She is now known to have been completely wrecked in a severe storm off Basel Reef. All hands, all cargo lost.
There's your answer, Mr. Beckham.
Oh, it is, eh?
Aye. Because the Tremaine left her last port of call most ill-advisedly, sir. Left her port of call on a Friday.
Well, now, don't be absurd, Mr. Etherington. Surely you don't think her sailing on a Friday had anything to do with this?
Think, man? I know it did. And so do all the rest of the gentlemen here in the exchange.
Ah, nonsense.
Is it? Then what of the Klemper Hall that foundered in a hurricane off the coast of South America?
But that was in...
She sailed on a Friday, too.
I know, but...
And the Marley Kay that perished off the coast of Africa.
Look, wait a minute.
And the Capricano off the Azores. And the Dorset. Don't you see? The Lee Cambria, the Plymouth Flyer. You name them, there have been dozens of them. All of them sailed on a Friday, Beckham, and they're all at the bottom of the sea.
And do you mean to tell me, Mr. Etherington, that you... or any other supposedly intelligent person...
I tell you, Beckham, there is an unholy curse on Friday sailing.
Ah, come on now.
Well, ask the sailors. They know it. And most of them, those that have their wits about them, wouldn't sign on for a Friday clearance if their very lives depended on it.
Rubbish. Most of the masters of our shipping fleet know it too. But I suppose you didn't mention a possible Friday sailing to the men of the Lorenta?
Of course I did.
And they all agreed to it?
Yes, every one of them.
Well, all but a stupid young midshipman who was easy enough replaced, and one of the galley boys.
Well, does that answer your question?
No. No. Can't you understand, sir? Can't you see the disaster you're courting by letting that ship go out on a Friday?
No, I cannot. Believe me, sir, I've never heard anything so completely silly in all my life.
Silly?
Yes, utterly ridiculous.
Well, that is not the way the Admiralty feels about it, Beckham.
The Admiralty?
Aye. And you can mark my words, sir. Before this 12-month is over, there'll be an edict against Friday sailings, a royal edict.
Ah, Tommy rot. Now fix up these air papers so I can have my coverage for the Lorenta. Well, will you do it?
No, Beckham, not I.
Now you look here.
Not unless you change that date.
Very well. Then I shall have to take my business to someone else.
I'm sorry.
Not only now, but hereafter.
That is up to you.
But you mark my word, Edward Etherington. The Lorenta will sail on a Friday, and she'll be living proof of what a fool you've just made of yourself.
And so it was that I betook myself across the room to another of the insurance men, a younger man, intelligent-looking chap who I was certain would be above any such childish superstition.
Oh, yes, sir.
Beckham's my name, Henry Beckham.
What? Oh, yes, of course, Mr. Beckham. I've seen you here many times. My name is Archcroft, sir.
Mr. Archcroft.
Won't you sit down, please, sir?
Thank you.
Rather a regular client of Mr. Edward Etherington, aren't you?
Let us say rather I was.
Was?
Aye, but no longer. It may surprise you, after all these years of my dealing with Mr. Etherington, but I've now decided to let one of you other gentlemen handle my insurance business.
Why, of course, Mr. Beckham. And I give you my word that you'll never regret it. It will be an honor and a privilege to serve as your account, sir.
Thank you.
And is there anything that I can do for you here and now?
There is,
today?
Mr. Ratchcroft, there is. I need insurance on a cargo and vessel that's sailing to America shortly.
Oh, fine, sir. And what is the name of the carrier?
The Lorenta.
Oh, yes. Good ship, sir. Yes. Captain Halsey Cunningham, I believe.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And the cargo, sir?
£15,000 worth of finished woolens.
£15,000 in... Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. There we are. And the sailing date, sir?
Friday, April the 20th.
Friday, sir.
That's right.
I'm sorry, sir. But I cannot handle it.
You... Now, look here, young man.
Unless, of course, you change that date. Don't you see, Mr. Beckham?
I see nothing. Silly, ridiculous superstition. That's all it is. I'll go elsewhere.
Friday? Oh, no, you can't mean it, Mr. Beckham.
I certainly do. Friday the 21st.
And I'm sorry, but the answer is no. I'm sorry, Mr. Beckham.
Friday? Sailing on a Friday, did you say?
That's exactly what I said.
Oh, then I'm sorry, Mr. Beckham.
Now, just a minute, you. Just a minute.
Friday? No, sir, I wouldn't think of it.
Oh, you wouldn't?
No, get someone else, if you can.
Sorry, not I. Not for a Friday sailing.
Oh, stupid.
sir.
Sorry. Superstition, you
Sorry.
hear me?
Sorry.
It's all nothing but a superstition. Sheer, stupid superstition. By heaven, I'll show 'em. I'll show 'em if it kills me. Hard-headed businessmen, they call themselves. But because of this nonsensical belief in a curse on Friday sailings, they turned me down. Well then, I'll tell you what I did. And I don't deny that by the time I got back here from London, back to all the old familiar things that have been so close to me so many years, well, I don't deny that more than once my determination began to waver a bit, as you might say. But ahead I went with my plan.
Beckham, what are you up to, man?
Philip, my friend, I'm selling out.
I don't understand.
I'm selling out to you. To you, Philip.
Well, what on earth for?
Well, you've done well for Beckham and Morley. You've done well for yourself. That means you've saved enough to buy me out. Yeah, I've seen that. And so I'm selling out to you.
But why?
Because I have need of cash, a lot of cash.
Well, has something gone...
No, boy. Nothing's gone wrong. But if you'll buy me out, it'll give me what I need to finance the building of a ship.
A ship?
Yeah, to prove once and for all the absurdness of this Friday sailing superstition. Huh. And anything else of the sort that's connected with Friday. Once and for all.
Oh, I see.
So if I can have your check, Philip, I'll make arrangements with Mr. McBarskin, the shipbuilder, on, the day after tomorrow.
The day... That's Friday.
That's right. Friday, as ever was. Yes. Yes, excellent, Mr. McBarskin. And now then, build her as exactly as you've sketched her here, and she'll be exactly what I want.
Very well. And if I understand you correctly, Mr. Beckham, you'd like me to begin construction right away?
Just as soon as possible, provided that you keep to the schedule we discussed.
Yes, of course, the schedule. Well, that means we can start a week from today. So if you'll affix your signature to this contract and the date. Right here, please.
Aye. Henry J. Beckham.
And the date, please.
Aye. Friday, April the 28th. And so it was. We'd made the contract on Friday, April the 28th. On Friday, May the 5th, began the building of the ship. My ship. And true to his word, Malcolm McBarskin tended himself to every detail, and like myself, made certain there was no deviation, not by a single day, from the schedule that we had set. The date for laying of the keel was a Friday, and it was met. The frames were begun, the ribs and plating, and the deck structure, the caulking, the finishing, the painting. Every single step in her construction was begun on a Friday. And so it went on, through May and June, July, August, and September. And then finally, on a beautiful morning at the end of September...
Oh, she's a beauty, all right. Just wait until they get the canvas on her.
That won't be until after this launching.
I understand Beckham has done all this by himself.
Certainly hope she comes his point.
Hey, here's the pretty girl up there with me. Wait now, they're getting ready. Wait now.
All ready now, my dear?
Yes, I'll guess so, Uncle Henry.
Very well, then. Now, hold the bottle tightly, and don't worry, when it breaks, the wrapping will keep it from hurting you, you see? So strike it with all your might.
But won't it splash all over my nasty dress that you got for me?
Oh, well, I'll buy you a dozen more, my dear. All prettier than this one. Now then, all ready now?
All ready, I guess.
Good. Then speak up loud and clear. Go on, dear. Just the way I told you to. Long may you sail...
Yes. Long may you sail the seven seas, good ship.
That's right. And long...
And long may you prosper, each cargo richer than the last.
And may you serve to show to all mankind that the only truth is truth itself.
I still don't understand what that means, Uncle Henry.
You're doing fine, my dear. Now go right ahead. And now this day...
Oh, all right. And now this day, the 22nd day of September, a Friday.
That's right. Go on.
I christen thee to be known herever after as the good ship Friday.
Aye, there she was. My ship the Friday, sliding down the ways, gliding as graceful as a swan, into the waters that would caress her for the rest of her natural life. And then, as she sat there bobbing gently on the tide, I knew I was right. That I now can prove I was right. As soon as she was fitted with her canvas, a matter now of only days, but one thing would remain. Aye, the fitting climax to my plan. The fitting final
proof.
In just a moment, the concluding act of Suspense. You know, there's a lot of talk, sensible talk, about driving carefully. But there are times when you shouldn't drive at all. Don't drive when you're drowsy. Go off the road and rest for a little while. Don't drive when you're angry or upset. People are apt to take out their anger on the car and cause a serious accident. And never drive if you've been drinking. Obeying these don'ts may save your life or someone else's.
And now my ship, in order to fulfill its destiny, required not only the best of crews, from first mate to cabin boy, but the finest master I could find. A master truly worthy of her, and who would also meet my, yes, I'll admit it, my rather unusual requirements. And when I did find him, I knew that he was the man.
And let me assure you again, Mr. Beckham, I deem it a privilege to take the command of this fine ship of yours.
And I was certain you'd feel that way about it, Captain. Now, as for the sailing date, to begin a maiden voyage.
Any time you say, Mr. Beckham. Immediately, if you like.
Immediately? Aren't you forgetting the schedule?
Oh, of course.
And always remember this, Captain.
Aye, sir.
I selected you to be the master of my ship because of your excellent record and reputation. Yes.
Thank you, sir, thank you.
But also, and more important, Captain, to prove once and for all the utter fallaciousness of that absurd superstition.
Absolutely.
Now, you must understand that, Captain. You must understand that, how important that is to me.
I do.
You must understand that that is my only reason for having undertaken all this and for having selected only you.
And I do understand, Mr. Beckham. I do understand.
I'm glad you do. I'm glad you do, Captain Friday. And finally, then, the day. And there she was, my fine new ship, the Friday, conceived on a Friday, built on a pattern of Fridays, christened and launched on a Friday, under the command of Captain Friday. The day, Friday, October the 13th, under a clear blue sky, proud in a new paint and polished brass and billowing canvas, with flags and pennants flying, the good ship Friday, under Captain Friday, sailed out of the harbor on a maiden voyage and sailed on a Friday. Thousands of people who'd heard of her and what she meant. Thousands thronged the piers to wish her bon voyage and cheer her on her way, to wish her Godspeed. Bells rang and whistles blew in her honor. In my honor, for here at last was living proof beyond the shadow of a doubt, that the silly, ridiculous, childish superstition about Friday being unlucky was indeed a superstition and nothing else. I'd staked my everything on her, all my money, yes, almost my soul. And now, before the doubters, before the world, I'd prove that I was right. I'd won. Except for one thing. The ship was never heard of again. The ship was never heard of again.
Suspense. You've been listening to Friday, starring Ivor Francis, and written especially for Suspense by Jonathan Bundy. Suspense is produced and directed by Bruno Zerato Jr. Music supervision by Ethel Huber. Featured in tonight's story were William Redfield as Morley, Robert Dryden as Etherington, Mercer McLeod as Captain Friday, Lawson Zerby as Archcroft, and Hetty Galen as the girl. Also in our cast were Bill Lipton, Herb Duncan, and Dave Gilbert. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank Radio TV Daily and the more than 400 radio and TV critics and columnists who just voted Suspense the dramatic show of the year on radio. Listen again next week when we return with The Man Who Went Back to Save Lincoln. Another tale well calculated to keep you in suspense. Heavenly Days, it's Richard Hayes, Monday through Fridays on the CBS Radio Network.
Once upon a time there was an engineer. Choo-choo Charlie was his name, we hear. He had an engine and he sure had fun. He used good and plenty candy to make his train run.
Charlie says, love my good and plenty. Charlie says, really rings the bell. Charlie says, love my good and plenty. Don't know any other candy that I love so well.
Hot dog. What kinds of kids eat Armour hot dogs?
Fat kids, skinny kids, kids who climb on rocks. Soft kids, fifty kids.
Even kids with chicken pox love hot dogs.
Armour hot dogs.
The dog kids love to bite. Picking it up on the old banjo, put on the mustard and away we go. But when kids fight dogs, they yell.
Dentists know what cleans teeth best. And over 4,000 dentists say Colgate tooth powder with a 2-minute routine gets teeth sparkling and super clean. So to remove dull film and get your teeth shining clean, just brush teeth 2 minutes morning and night with Colgate tooth powder. Brush inside, outside, and biting surface.
Terrible thing to wake up from a nightmare. But suppose you have a nightmare you can't wake up from because you aren't asleep. It happens to me in this story on Theater 5. A story called just what it is, a nightmare. What's that?
Help, oh, help! Let me go! Let go of me! Help! Help somebody!
What's going on here?
Please.
Why, Judy. Judy, are you all right? What is it?
Mr. Evans. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank goodness somebody came. It was... Mr. Evans, I thought he was going to... Oh, Mr. Evans.
Who was it, Judy?
I don't know.
Here, let me look at you.
My dress. He tore my dress.
Judy, are you all right?
I had a drink.
Yes, so I see, but are you all right?
You want to
Judy.
know?
No, Judy,
Don't touch me. No, don't touch me.
Judy, I'm only trying to help you. Now, here, let me take you inside and I'll call the police. Come on now.
Let me go. Help!
Judy.
Let me go, I said. Help somebody. Help.
Judy, what do you want the whole neighborhood to think?
You're hurting me. Let me go. Please let me go.
Hey,
help.
what's going on here? Well, Judy. Why, Mr. Evans.
Bill, he tore my dress.
Judy, what kind of nonsense is this?
I don't know what's going on here. Somebody was attacking Judy. I heard her screams and I came running. Too late to catch the fella or even see him, but... Sure, Teach, sure. He got clean away, I suppose. Well, I didn't chase after him. I was only trying to help Judy, and... Well, now she's carrying on as if... Look, she's upset, of course, and... Oh, of course. And she's been drinking. You can say that again.
He tore my dress.
Judy, we're going to put a stop to this right now. I'm going to call the police. It sounds like somebody already has, Teach. I mean, Mr. Evans. Good. Not good, man. Bad. What? Now, Sergeant, if you let me explain this from the beginning.
Name?
Charles Evans.
Address?
317 East Andover. Now, as I was saying...
Occupation?
History teacher at Coolidge High. Now, Sergeant...
Married?
No.
Age?
Sergeant, 34.
Okay. Now, your story isn't...
It is not my story. It's the truth. Now, this young lady here...
You know her?
Well, of course I know her. She's one of my students. This boy, too.
Her parents know she was out with you.
She was not out with me. Now, Sergeant, are you going to listen to what I have to say or not?
The kid said she was out with you.
I can't believe it.
She have any reason to lie?
Well, it must be the shock. Whoever attacked her mussed her up considerably.
I could see that.
And she's been drinking.
She says you got her drinking.
Oh, she's out of her mind. Sergeant, have I been drinking?
Don't look that way, but that don't prove anything. You ever been in trouble before?
No. And I'm not in trouble now.
Well, I'd say you were.
Sergeant, can't you get Judy in here? Let me talk to her. Now, she's had time to calm down, and I'm sure she can straighten this out. She probably doesn't have any real idea of what she said when the officer brought us in. She was hysterical and in a state of shock.
Okay. Send the girl in. The boy, too. Cigarette?
No, thanks.
Well, don't smoke either.
I didn't say that.
Oh, come in. Come in. Now, young man.
Philip Talmadge, sir.
Okay. Sit there. And, young lady.
Judy McIntyre. Mr. Evans, I'm terribly sorry. I really am.
Oh, thanks goodness. Now we can make some sense out of this.
I'm sorry this had to happen. I know you didn't mean to. I mean, well, gosh, I suppose I never thought of you as a man. I mean, well, history's such a dry subject, isn't it? And, well, I just didn't know you'd turn out to be so sexy.
Judy, what in the name of heaven are you talking about? Sergeant, I came home and
From where?
Well, from doing some work in my office at the school.
Anybody see you there?
I don't know. Not that I know of. Now, listen. I came home. I got out of the car. I heard a girl scream out and cry for help. I ran over, and when I got there, she was alone, still screaming and crying out and looking the way you see her now. I tried to calm her down. I asked her if she was all right. Did she know who it was that attacked her? She said she didn't. And then she began crying on again. Now, I was trying to quiet her down when Phil came here running up. Now, that is the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Maybe you ought to give him the benefit of the doubt, Sergeant. Doubt? Well, the way you tell it, maybe that's the way it happened. I don't know. I only know what I saw. Judy was sure putting up a big struggle. Now, why would she be doing that if Mr. Evans, was only trying to help her? I mean, it doesn't make sense, does it? None of this makes sense. Now, Judy, I want you to think back very carefully over what really happened to you tonight.
Now, this ain't the classroom, Mr. Evans. Judy, suppose you tell me what happened. And I want the truth now.
Oh, Sergeant, I'm really sorry. I really am. I mean, I didn't have any idea anybody would make such a fuss. Can't we just forget it?
Forget it? You claim a man attacks you, beats you up, tears your clothes half off you, and you want to forget it?
Well, maybe it was partly my fault. I mean, well, I don't want to sound conceited, but, well, the fellows all say I'm tough, cool, with it. And, well, maybe I said something or looked at him some way, and, well, he got the wrong idea. And then, well, he got himself so worked up he couldn't help it. I mean,
Well, everybody understands that kind of thing, don't they? I mean, not that it was right what he did, but, well, I've always admired him so as a teacher, and couldn't we just forget it?
Judy, in the name of heaven.
No, we can't just forget it. You're a minor. Evans, I'm not going to book you on any charges just yet, but I hope you'll agree to remain in voluntary custody.
Sergeant, Well, all right, if you say so.
You kids will stay here till your parents come. And when they get here, I want to see them.
Judy.
Oh, Mr. Evans, I'm sorry. I really am.
Judy, why are you doing this to me? Why?
Mr. Evans, I don't know what's the matter with me. I guess I'm so tired.
Judy,
Why? Did you say why?
But, Jim, why would she do a thing like that? Why?
Well, you're attorney. That's what I've got to figure out if I'm going to help you. Wouldn't you give any explanation?
Wouldn't or couldn't. She was hysterical. Giggling anyway. I could have wrung her neck.
Well, can you think of any reason why?
No. And I've racked my brains trying to.
There must be some reason that doesn't make any sense otherwise. It certainly wouldn't make sense to a judge.
Jim, how do you think it looks for me?
I don't know, Charlie. It's their word, Phil's and Judy's, against yours. And Judy's appearance. It would help if we had a witness, but we don't. At least we don't so far. I'm still working on it. That and anybody who might have seen Judy earlier in the evening.
What about her parents?
Just what you might expect. All they know is that she was out. They didn't know who with. They said they thought she was probably at the library. Probably.
Well, I guess they're pretty upset. Huh?
Actually, I don't think they'll press any charges. I get the feeling they're pretty leery about anything Judy might do or say. But in any case, we've got to know what's behind all this.
Maybe she's protecting somebody.
Somebody who attacked her?
Well, herself, then. Maybe the fella didn't attack her. Maybe she led him on a little, and then when things went too far, she got scared and started screaming for help to make it look like an attack.
Well, then why accuse you? Why not the fella she was with?
I don't know. Maybe he's her boyfriend.
I've checked that. Her only boyfriend is her steady, Phil.
Phil?
Yeah. Didn't you know?
No. Well, I guess that knocks that. He couldn't have been fooling around with her without getting messed up himself, and he wasn't.
Funny he happened to be so close at hand, isn't it? He doesn't live anywhere near there.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
Exactly. That's why the most important thing for us to figure out is why.
I don't get you.
Well, hasn't it occurred to you that this whole business might have been staged for your benefit?
But why?
That's exactly what I mean. Why? Some grudge, maybe. What kind of a student is she?
Fair. Not good, not bad.
No problem of failing?
No.
No run-in of any kind in class? I mean, embarrassing her in front of the class, say, because she didn't know an answer?
No. I've never had any trouble at all with her like that way. Or Phil either.
Ah. Does she have a crush on you?
I've never gotten that impression.
It could be that. And if she felt you slighted her or were laughing at her and she wanted to get back at you...
No, I don't think so, Jim. She isn't the type. She's always with a flock of boys, steady or not. No, definitely not the shy, sensitive, adoring type. No, I don't think it's that.
Well, it's got to be something. She surely wouldn't just do this thing for no reason at all. It doesn't make sense.
That's what I keep thinking over and over. It doesn't make sense.
Well, charges or no charges, Charlie. I'm afraid you're in for a tough rap.
Will you have some coffee, Mr. Evans?
No, thank you, Mrs. Carter.
Very well. Then let's get down to business. I'm sure you know why you're here.
I have a fair idea, yes.
I understand you were acquitted of the charges against you.
There were no charges, Mrs. Carter.
Technically, no. I realized the charges were dropped.
Yes, for lack of sufficient evidence, among other things.
But of course the story is all over town.
Well, I don't hear all the gossip myself, but I suppose so.
It was most unfortunate, I'm sure. I'm afraid we don't always abide by our own conviction that a man is innocent till proved guilty. Well, be that as it may, you understand that officially I have no authority regarding your contract with the high school.
Yes, I understand.
But as president of the Parents Association, I do wield a certain amount of influence, shall we say. In other words, the Parents Association could, if we deemed it suitable, bring pressure to bear on the school to buy up your contract.
Yes. And you deem it suitable?
Don't put words in my mouth, Mr. Evans.
I beg your pardon.
I will admit I've given a good deal of thought to the matter. It's true that you are, legally at least, innocent. Still, in any situation involving our children, we have to be very careful. I'm sure that if you had a child, you're not married, I understand.
No.
I think you might well give that some thought. Still, that is beside the point for the moment. But if you had a child, I'm sure you would want that child under the influence of a teacher who is above suspicion.
Mrs. Carter, if you asked me to come here so you could give me an analysis of my character...
There is no need to be rude, Mr. Evans. I understand you have been through a rather trying experience.
To put it mildly...
So I will overlook that rudeness. I've asked you here, Mr. Evans, because of a remarkable experience I had this morning. Judy McIntyre came to see me.
Judy? Judy came to see you?
And she had some rather remarkable things to say to me.
You mean she told you the truth?
Several truths, Mr. Evans. I was so impressed by what she had to say. I asked her to be here this afternoon so you could hear for yourself. I think you'll be impressed, too.
I hope so.
I'll ask her to come in now. You may come in now, Judy. Mr. Evans is most anxious to hear what you have to say.
Hello, Judy.
Hello, Mr. Evans. I really don't know how to begin.
Just begin the way you did this morning. There's nothing to be nervous about.
Well, like I said to Mrs. Carter this morning, I feel so bad about everything and all.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, Judy. I'm sure that eventually we could straighten this thing out.
Well, I figured maybe Mr. Williams, the principal, might think that you shouldn't go on teaching here, and if he fired you, you'd really be in a jam. I mean, who else would want to hire you, even with the shortage of teachers and all? And like I said to Mrs. Carter, you're really a marvelous, marvelous teacher, and you contribute so much to the school.
Thank you.
Oh, that's all right. I mean, well, it's true. And anyhow, I told Mrs. Carter that I thought they should let you stay on because, well, look at it this way, Mr. Evans. Wouldn't it really be better to stay here and just live this thing down than to try to go somewhere else when probably nowhere else would have you?
What?
Well, I mean, since it would probably be on your record and all, or at least people would know.
Judy.
I mean, well, anybody can make a mistake, but if a person didn't mean to do it, then I think people should be fair about it and give him a chance to prove he didn't mean it.
Judy, in the name of heaven, what are you trying to do to me?
Mr. Evans, there is no need to shout.
No need to shout?
I think Judy is being most perceptive and most generous. And I, for one, find it refreshing indeed to see one of our teenage youngsters not behaving like the monsters they are so often pictured, but like the responsible young citizens we hope and know they are.
Mrs. Carter, this responsible young citizen you see before you has, for no reason I have been able to fathom, falsely accused me of assaulting her. She has wrecked my career and ruined my reputation. And you expect me to get on my knees and thank her for her generosity?
Mr. Evans, nobody expects that.
You must be insane. Or a little monster.
Mr. Evans, I expect you to think before you speak. As I said before, I know you've been through a trying experience, but I strongly suggest that you pull yourself together. Judy is trying to help you. We are all trying to help you. I think it's time you started trying to help yourself.
And that's the end of it?
I sincerely hope it will be. And now, if you have nothing more to say, Mr. Evans?
No, nothing.
then I think we may consider the matter settled.
Judy.
Oh, Mr. Evans. Oh, golly. I really don't think people should see you with me. Here in school, I mean.
Judy, why? Why? Just tell me that.
Listen, we shouldn't be talking right here in the hall, Mr. Evans. You should know better.
Have I ever done anything to you? Offended you in some way?
Mr. Evans, of course not. Don't be a stodge.
Why?
Gee, Mr. Evans, I don't know. Does there have to be a why? Look, I gotta go now. The guys are waiting for me. And like I said, I don't think you and me are just the coolest combo right now.
Will you stop this insane giggling and give me a straight answer?
I don't have any answer. We were just looking for something crazy to do. And, well, we did it.
Just like that?
Well, yeah.
Why me?
Oh, Mr. Evans. I know it doesn't sound as funny to you, but that's just what we said. Why, Mr. Evans? And then we said, why not?
And that explains it.
Well, sure. I mean, it wasn't anything personal, honest.
Judy, do you have any idea what you've done to me?
Well, yeah, but I fixed everything up for you, didn't I? I mean, you don't have to thank me or anything. It was just the least I could do.
You could tell the truth.
Mr. Evans, honest, you're the most. If I told the truth now, who would believe me? I mean, people would still think there must be something funny going on. They'd never believe we did this whole bit for no reason at all. I mean, it doesn't make sense. That's what's so funny about it. I mean, really funny that the truth doesn't make any sense at all.
No, Judy. You're the one that doesn't make any sense. The truth makes a lot of sense. And your boyfriend, Phil, just told the truth. My lawyer had a hunch and put Phil on the spot. He told everything. I was just giving you one last chance to tell the truth before you tell it to a judge.
Theater 5 has presented Nightmare, written by Francis Rickett and directed by Ted Bell. In the cast, Rosemary Rice, Stan Watts, George Baxter, Lorraine McMartin, Peter Fernandez, and George Petrie. Audio engineer Bill Sandreuter. Sound technician Ed Blaney. Script editor Jack C. Wilson. Original music by Alexander Vlastotsenko. Orchestra under the direction of Glenn Osser. Executive producer for Theater 5, Edward A. Byron. We invite your comments. Write to Theater 5, New York 23, New York. This is Fred Foy speaking. This has been an ABC Radio Network production.
What'll you have? Pabst Blue Ribbon. What'll you have? Pabst Blue Ribbon.
When you're watching TV boxing bouts with fighters swinging hooks and clouts, the moment that bell begins to sound, it's Pabst Blue Ribbon from the very first round. What'll you have?
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
What'll you have?
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
What'll you have?
Pabst Blue Ribbon. Pabst Blue Ribbon beer.
Smoother, smoother, smoother flavors, zest and spark
serve, anywhere. Pabst Blue Ribbon beer. What'll you have? Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Superstition on the air.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to offer you another short story in the series designed to disclose the origins of superstition. This one deals with the belief that Friday the 13th is an unlucky day.
Henry, aren't you ready yet? Your breakfast will get cold. Hurry now.
I'll be with you in a minute, Doris.
Oh, every time you have a day off, Henry, it takes hours before I can get the housework started, and it upsets
Oh, darling, I'm sorry. But you know I only have a day off once every 2 weeks. Well, do I get those nice hot biscuits for breakfast?
Yes, dear. Here, read the morning paper while I get them out of the oven.
All right, honey, but make it snappy. I've got to meet Bill out at the club for a game of golf.
Here are the biscuits and your ham and eggs. Now eat them before they get...
Great Scott! Can you beat that?
What's the matter, Henry?
Do you know what day this is?
No.
It's Friday the 13th.
Well, what's wrong with that, dear?
What's wrong? Why, it's unlucky. Now I bet everything will go haywire today. I know I'll have some bad luck.
Oh, why, darling, just because it's Friday the 13th, it's no different from any other day.
Oh, yes, it is. I look at the disasters that happened on that day in England, right here in our own country.
But, darling, those things would have taken place anyway, regardless of the day. Just as the incident that was responsible for starting that belief would have occurred whether it had been Friday the 13th or not. So don't be superstitious.
Superstitious? Why, Doris, you know I'm not superstitious. But I'll bet Friday the 13th has been a jinx to mankind since the creation of the world.
Oh, no, Henry. You're wrong. That superstition began much later than that. It was after the passion and crucifixion of the Christ that the superstition of that day and number became universally feared as an omen of evil.
You mean they didn't regard Friday the 13th as unlucky before that time?
No. Oh, true, the belief of lucky and unlucky days and numbers had begun with the old Chaldeans and Egyptians, but the actual superstition of Friday the 13th did not begin until after the crucifixion. For people believed that because 13 sat down to the Last Supper, Jesus Christ was betrayed and crucified the following day, which was Friday the 13th of Nisan by the Jewish calendar.
Which only proves that Friday the 13th was unlucky, Doris.
No, Henry. But don't you remember in the Bible that before the feast of the Passover, Judas had gone into the city of Jerusalem and had bargained with the priests who hated the Christ because he was hailed by the people as a prophet? And they agreed to pay Judas 30 pieces of silver if he would deliver the Christ to them when he was away from the multitudes. After the Last Supper, Judas left Jesus and his disciples and went to the temple where the priests were excitedly discussing the growing power of the Christ and...
Silence, my brethren, silence. We must do away with this man, Jesus of Nazareth, For each day his power grows and he gains more followers.
Yea, Caiaphas, only the other day the people did hail him as the son of David. 'Tis blasphemy.
'Tis sacrilege.
He is an impostor.
Let us take him. Nay, we cannot seize him while he's amongst the people who love him and call him master.
But Caiaphas, what of this Judas Iscariot, to whom we paid 30 pieces of silver? He promised to deliver this Jesus of Nazareth unto us.
Yea, Joshua, but we must have patience. For I did caution him to wait until the time that his master would be alone, so as not to cause a tumult among the people.
Caiaphas, Judas Iscariot is here. He would speak with thee.
Bring him before me at once. Now, my brethren, perhaps this Judas brings the news we're waiting for. Greetings, Judas Iscariot. Hast thou brought good tidings unto us?
Yea, Caiaphas. Tonight as we sat at supper, I learned that the Master doth go into the Garden of Gethsemane this night to pray there, alone. Now is the time to take him.
At last! But, Judas, how will the soldiers know thy master?
I will go with them and greet the Master with a kiss. By that sign they will know him.
'Tis well spoken, Judas. Verily thou art the true Savior of Israel. Now thou must go with the soldiers to seize this Jesus of Nazareth before he suspects that something may be amiss by thy absence and elude us.
Nay, Caiaphas, the Master doth know I will betray him.
What? Meanest thou hast allowed him to suspect thee?
Nay, but at supper tonight he did prophesy that one of his disciples would betray him. And when we all asked who it was, he said softly unto me, What thou doest, do quickly.
And did the others know 'twas thou who would betray him, Judas?
Nay, for he whispered unto me. And when I left, the disciples thought that I did go on an errand for the Master.
Oh, then we must act quickly, for verily this man is empowered by the Prince of Darkness. Elias, take Judas to the soldiers, now, so that they may go at once to seize his master.
Yea, Caiaphas, come with me, Judas. But Caiaphas, dost thou not fear that the people will cause a tumult when they learn that their master hath been taken?
We must prevent that, Joshua.
But how, Caiaphas?
Thou and the other priests must stir up the people to lust for his blood. 'Tis easy to sway the emotions of a mob if ye work cleverly and carefully.
Ah, thou art wise, Caiaphas.
We must act quickly, Joshua, and crucify this man before another sun sets. Otherwise, 'twill be too late, for the holy Sabbath begins then.
Thou art right, Caiaphas. We can do nothing on the holy Sabbath. 'Twould be a sacrilege.
Nay, Joshua, but we must not fail. Tomorrow, Friday the 13th of Nisan, we will have crucified this Jesus of Nazareth upon the Mount of Golgotha, the place of the skull.
But, Joshua, why should this Jesus of Nazareth be dying now upon the cross, when he hath done nothing?
Thou art a Roman, Lucius, and thou dost not understand. This man hath called himself the King of the Jews and the Son of God. 'Tis blasphemy.
But, Joshua, I have heard that he hath performed many wonders and done much good among the people.
Ah, Lucius, he did say he would destroy the temple and rebuild it again in 3 days. And now thou seest he cannot even save himself.
But behold, Joshua, his followers at the foot of the cross. How they love him and weep at his travail.
He trusted in God, Lucius. Let God deliver him now, if he will have him. For did he not say, I am the Son of God? But see, he dies instead.
Yea, verily. Oh, how darkly overcast is the sky, Joshua, and each hour it doth grow more black.
Yea, Lucius, and the evening hath not yet come. But look at Jesus of Nazareth. He is dead now, for the soldier hath pierced his side with a spear.
Behold, Joshua, the rocks are rent asunder, the earth doth tremble, and the skies roar with a mighty wrath. Truly, this man was the Son of God.
Verily, Lucius, I cannot understand. See the people, how they cry out with fear and beat their breasts.
Alas, Joshua, this day, Friday the 13th, will go down in the records of time as a day of ill omen. For verily, we have crucified the Son of God.
And so, after the crucifixion of the Christ, the people believed that Friday the 13th was a day of ill omen. But as you know, Henry, the day itself had nothing to do with it.
Why, you're wrong, Doris. After all, it was an unlucky day. The people turned against the Christ and crucified him, didn't they?
Oh, but Henry, don't you understand that the Christ was destined to be crucified, regardless of whether it was Friday the 13th or any other day?
Yeah, but someone's at the door.
Oh.
I'll see who it is, honey.
Telegram, sir. Will you sign here, please?
Okay, thanks. Great Scott.
What is it, dear?
A telegram from your mother. Listen to this. Barbara, Myrtle, and I coming for visit. Arriving on the 2:45. Have Henry meet us at station. Lovingly, Mother.
Oh, Mother's coming. Isn't that marvelous, dear?
Yeah, great. The last time your mother visited us, she stayed 6 months. Now she's bringing the whole family, and she'll probably stay a year. And you tried to tell me Friday the 13th isn't an unlucky day. Bah.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, after receiving that telegram, no one will be able to convince Henry that Friday the 13th is anything but an unlucky day. Well, au revoir and good luck to you.